Oh, I warned you that we would be in for a period of chaos, and this might last all 4 years of Trump 2.0. For sure, it's going to last 100 days and probably a lot longer than that. And, for all this chaos, that means that we're going to have to be a bit patient when the Tesla stock goes down or when the markets go down. But if you think about it, a 5% dip, or maybe it might turn out to be more than that this morning, a 5, a 7, an 8% dip in Tesla, or a 2 or 3% dip in the Nasdaq is nothing compared to the run up that we've experienced recently. So relax and enjoy the mayhem. It's going to be a really good thing in the end. Sometimes you have to cut into the cancer, and there's an operation and there's a mess and there's, pain and yeah. And then when you get the cancer out, the organism, the human, whatever it is, can really, really go crazy. And that's what I think we're going to see with Trump and his worldwide reset, which nobody else, Brian Wong and I are talking about this reset. You got to think about it in terms of a worldwide reset. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Okay, so Tesla was bouncing off 380 when I was writing this, but last time I checked, it's now down around 377. It could go to 360. We've talked about that over and over again. That's kind of a low that could happen. I don't necessarily think that'll happen today. There is conversations taking place, and we'll see if the presidents of the various countries can get together. Anyway, Holmar's catalog says this morning: Tesla FSD usage exploded in the fourth quarter of 2024, more than double the usage per day on average. In quarter three 2024, Tesla FSD was used for an average of 4.3 million miles per day. In quarter four, that rose to well over 10 million miles per day. Of course, you can get that from going through all the data that was just released at the earnings call. Now, this is missing from the analyst profits expectations for 2025. Nobody's talking about how FSD uptake is going to be so much more, and it's going to impact. Certainly, when we get to unsupervised, it's going to become massive. So just get ready for that. All right, Teslarati says this morning, a new study from the online lending service marketplace, LendingTree, has put a spotlight on Tesla's popularity among car buyers looking for luxury vehicles. From January through November 2024, the Tesla Model Y and Model 3 received the most loan inquiries from car buyers looking into acquiring a luxury vehicle. For its study, LendingTree analyzed over 1 million auto loan inquiries for passengers. That's a big study. From January to November to determine which luxury vehicles were most popular. LendingTree took a luxury vehicle makes total number of queries and divided it by the total number of luxury vehicle queries during the period. So that would be the obvious way to do it. I don't know why they went into all that. It's so obvious. So the Tesla Model Y claimed the top spot with 6.8% of vehicle loan inquiries centered on the Model Y. The Tesla 3 was second at 5.6, so that's 6.8, 5.6. Overall, Tesla was the second most sought after luxury brand after BMW, partly due to the company's significantly smaller vehicle lineup. They only have two cars. BMW has a lot more. BMW captured 16.6 of luxury brand inquiries overall, and Tesla was only slightly behind at 15.8. That means the Tesla beat out Mercedes-Benz and Lexus. As per LendingTree, a good reason behind the popularity of the Tesla Model Y and 3 among luxury car buyers may be the vehicle's reasonable price. Despite Tesla being considered a luxury brand, the Model Y and 3 are priced very competitively. In fact, the Model 3 right now, the base model, Model 3, in terms of how much money you spend over the first 5 years, is lower than any other vehicle available. The cheapest, cruddiest, worst vehicle in America available on the market today costs more over 5 years than a Model 3. It's just a fact. The 2024 Model Y starts at, we know that. As per LendingTree, a good reason behind the popularity, I said that. Okay, now this from John Murphy. He is a top 10 analyst. He's at Bank of America. He's in the top 10%. Considering the results and comments made by Tesla, Murphy has made some small changes to his estimates, specifically, mainly on account of the changeover of the Model 1 and Q1. His 2025 EPS forecast is lowered from $3.15 to $3.05. He doesn't apparently believe that Tesla can crank up the factories and make up the difference by the end of the year. To this end, Murphy remains on the sidelines right now with a neutral rating. I bet you if he could buy it at 377 this morning, he would. With a neutral rating and a 490 price target on Tesla shares, he definitely would. That said, with a projected 21% upside over the next 12 months, one could argue his stance leans way closer to bullish than neutral. Yeah, you might say that. All right, this is Randy Kirk, by the way. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, hit notify. Today we've got Nicholas Gibbs instead of Larry coming at 5 o'clock. Oh, we've got Paul Basel because I forgot to put it up last night. Paul Basel, I'll put that one up around like 11 o'clock this morning, all Pacific time, Pacific Standard Time. And then normal Brian White expected tonight at 7:45. There's a chance I'll substitute Brian Wong depending on what's going on in turn. But the Brian White one is going to be huge. We're going to talk about some of the competition. The competition is coming in China on FSD. And you know what? It might be a little better than we're hoping it will be. Anyway, that's going to be on tonight. A chance I'll substitute Brian Wong because of some of the breaking news on the economic front. Patreon, got that new Patreon folks in the day, sold two Cybertruck bottle openers to New Zealand. Yeah, it's going great. Okay, after reading every article I could get my hands on from Friday till now, listening to podcast after podcast or podcast, the pundits, the regular guys, the guys that are paid the big money, don't get it. Now, some of the podcast guys get it, okay? But Brian Wong and I really get it, and so that's why you listen, okay? Because I've been talking about this for weeks. Some of the other guys are starting to catch up. Trump is doing a reset. This is the Davos people defeated. They said they were defeated. The president of the guy that puts together the whole Davos thing says, we're defeated. We've been beat. It's a complete change, a reset. This is the U.S. cutting the cord, asking the spoiled teenage nations of the world to stand up on their own 2 feet and stop relying on the U.S. to be their benefactor. Full and equal competitors is now the plan, and he's going to use the tariff approach to get that done. Now, the tariff approach, it's going to work both ways. Countries are putting tariffs on our stuff. Are you kidding me? As Trump said the other day, you can't sell a U.S.-made car in Europe right now because of the tariffs. All right. So when the financial so-called analysts get that, it'll be easier to evaluate such things as what Trump is doing right now with regard to Canada and Mexico, China, etc. By the way, Canada and Mexico will be meeting with Trudeau's already talked to Trump once this morning. He was supposed to talk to him again at 3 o'clock. He's been meeting with the Mexican emissaries that have been set up for Mexico. Yeah, you know this tariff thing is not going to be 25% when all is said and done. Maybe there will be a tariff, maybe there won't, and everybody will calm down. Shocking good news. And by the way, China is also setting up a meeting within the next 2 weeks. They will be meeting to talk about their tariff. All right. This is shocking good news. Shocking. Manufacturing PMI in the United States increased to 51.2 points in January from 49.4 points in December. Manufacturing PMI in the United States averaged 53 from 2012 to 2025 until getting to 2025. What? Averaged 53.14 in 2012 until 2025, reaching an all-time high of 63 points in July of 2021 and a record low of 36.1 points in April of 2020. All right. Anyway, it's up in January compared to December. We'll see that December wasn't so great in a few minutes. All right. So, well, on a different report. Squawk Squares, by the way, manufacturing picking up will be huge. Squawk Square says this: Breaking. NEC Director Kevin Hassett on CNBC right now saying that there were positive conversations over the weekend with Mexico and Canada. Doesn't think tariffs will last long. Mexico seems to be more willing to negotiate right now. We could see a hard reversal today. That was just before I came on air. All right. And then President Trump says, I just spoke to Canada's Trudeau, and we will speak again at 3 p.m. Barron's. Okay, listen to this now very carefully. Pay attention. The average probability that a recession will occur within the next 12 months, according to 70 or so economists polled by the Wall Street Journal Economic Forecasting Survey, has been declining for the last 10 quarters from a 63% chance in the third quarter, just a 22% chance today. You can remember in 2023, we were absolutely going to have a recession, except Randy said, no, we won't. Said it over and over and over again. We never had that recession. In 2024, I thought we might be a flat line and maybe a slight recession, but we were able to overcome that by massive government spending. But the pundits now throughout the year have been going from thinking there'll be a recession in 2024 to believing there wouldn't be, and now believing there won't be in 2025. Well, guess what? The contrarian Randy is telling you we're probably going to have a recession unless the bonds drop 100 basis points. Okay. Maybe it'll work if we drop 75 basis points, but it needs to be quickly. We've already got about 25 of those basis points off the table. We need to go from the 4.5 where we are right now down to 3.5, 3.75. And I think we avoid the recession, but it's got to happen like in weeks, not months. All right. The move is more significant when you consider that rarely do economists rate the possibility of recession at more than 90 or less than 10, and they're getting close to that at 22%. There's always unknown risks, she says. Say if North Korea were to bomb Russia. What are we talking about? But we have known risks, and chief among them is Trump's trade policy. If he enacts tariffs rapidly across large swaths of the import economy, we will see people involved in international trade being laid off and companies going belly up instantaneously. That's not what he's doing, and that's not what's going to happen. I think the Trump administration is using tariff as a negotiating tool, she says, and they're not going to be as bad as many think, but there is a risk of overdoing it. Oh, I'm sorry, that was not her. This is according to 𝐂𝐦𝐚𝐢𝐥, an economist at Raymond James, who, while positive on the U.S. economy, sees a 40% risk of recession this year, one of the highest in the Wall Street Journal survey. They didn't ask me. I would put it at more than 50%. Alleman notes that we could slip into escalating and retaliatory trade war, similar to what he says exacerbated the Great Depression in the 30s. No, it won't be like that. That is not the way to compare it. The way to compare it is complete chaos that is only partially a slight trade war, new tariffs being set, like I talked about before, the Great Reset. But no, it's more about immigrants not coming in and immigrants going home, in addition to the trade war, in addition to DOGE cutting huge amounts of government spending. You need all three of those, and you can say, okay, you got all three of those happening at once. What's likely to happen when you've got all three of those happening at once? Oh, you might have some pain for 6 months. And I think that's likely, except if we cut 100 basis points from the total 10-year bond, that'll stimulate housing, auto, and manufacturing, durable goods, large purchases, and companies will respond to that cut in the treasuries also. Corporate bonds will be less expensive, and that will give the overall corporate world an opportunity to be expansive. Listen, this is so important. We need landscapers, peoples in kitchens, and people to clean hotels, and that source of labor largely comes from an undocumented pool, says cuts. We also need engineers and well-trained people. If we curtail all legal, we're not curtailing any legal. And undocumented immigration, we put pressures on wages, which will be inflationary. Yes, that could happen. We could have some labor inflation, but I doubt it because we'll be laying off all those people at the government. Those government people can go to work as landscapers, people in kitchens, and people to clean hotels. Okay, that's a joke. I'm kidding. or maybe I'm not. Cuts also points to Primerica's Household Budget Index, which tracks the purchasing power of middle-income families. You ask about the probability of recession? Well, take into account higher costs of necessities. Families are just barely above where they were in January of 2019, she says. Some 70% of families surveyed said their income is not keeping up. This is what Larry Goldberg and I have been talking about for a year or longer, the two economies. People making over $100,000 a year and who have assets have done extremely well over the last 4 years. They should thank Biden up, down, and backwards and forwards. That should be thrilled with what Biden did with the inflation. It helps people like you and me, okay? The people that have money. But it hurts the people that are middle class. And here's more evidence of what we've been talking about. And this is why Trump won. It's because the middle class said, hey, this is not good. And people, all these pundits writing the headlines, how come the people can't see that the economy is great? Well, it wasn't for them. That's why. And they didn't get it. But I've been talking about it. Larry's been talking about it for well over a year. Food inflation is still persistent, specifically the price of eggs. That doesn't matter. See, here's a great article. And then the guy goes bonkers. And it's like, the price of eggs is not the problem. Avian flu is not going away. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. That's not how you judge the economy. You can't base it on what's happening to the price of eggs based on the avian flu. It has nothing to do with inflation. Anyway, what about the stock market? Big text, because what's inflation? Inflation is too much government money being printed with not enough demand. I'm sorry, not enough supply. What does the stock market think? Big tech stocks like NVIDIA in particular are getting deep sixed the past week and getting deep sixed again today. The Chinese upstart because of DeepSeek. Okay. The expectations, the AI sector, I don't think this person really understands that. So animal spirits could be triggered. We could listen, I'm okay. 20% off. You know that. You know I've been asking. 20% down on the S&P, 30% down on the Nasdaq. It's probably going to happen. You might want to make some defensive moves. That's not investment advice. It's also worth noting that DeepSeek, I don't care about. I'm not going to go back. Speaking of spending, the CEO of boldface name private equity group, which he lunched with in the past week, expressed concern over the federal deficit. Yes, we know that. That's what we're doing with Doge. 1.9 trillion this year has to be cut in half. If you didn't watch the All In podcast, or if you didn't watch the discussion with, anyway, I talked about that yesterday night. You want to I'll put a card up later. Monetarist economist Steve Hanke of Johns Hopkins University notes a significant contraction in money supply, which he says has historically been recessionary. Though he acknowledges his theory has fallen out of fashion. No, his theory has not fallen out of fashion. It's just idiots are not paying attention. You can't, the money supply has to be maintained. Even if we go into a recession, it becomes even more important. Okay, the key is bond buyers believing Doge. The key is Doge cutting half of that 1.9 trillion. They got to cut it down as much as they can. Cut it to zero. Get back to a balanced budget. That will not happen this year. Might not happen 2026, but when the interest rates come down, that'll help. Maybe you get the Canadians and the Europeans to spend more on their own defense, and maybe we can cut our defense budget back a little bit. Then what happens is, I just said it a minute ago, you stimulate business with lower mortgage rates, car loan rates, and even personal loan and credit cards. The interest rates go down, and people can go out and start buying those larger products, larger purchases again. Okay, this is breaking. Remember, I said that manufacturing is up in January, but it was down in December, at least according to the manufacturing manufacturing ISM. So they say contracted in December for the 9th consecutive month and the 25th time in 26 months. This is a big part of why those middle-class people are not doing well. The manufacturing PMI registered 49.3% in December, 0.9% higher compared to the 48% in November, but the overall economy continued expansion. Manufacturing PMI above 42.5% over a period of time. General indicates an expansion of the overall economy. The new orders index continued an expansion. I thought they just said it was doing lousy. Everything says expansion. The December reading on the production index is 3.5% higher than November's figure. This doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to read this because it was just breaking before we came on. All right, what about construction? Construction spending during December was estimated at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of $2 trillion, 0.5% above the revised November estimate. So construction doing well. The value of construction, 6.5% above the previous year. Private construction was seasonally adjusted 0.9% above, so private construction was good. Residential construction was up 1.5%. Non-residential construction was up 0.1%. Public construction, so it's all up. All right, so with all of that said, the markets, of course, are not doing well today because they're all worried about, well, they've turned around a little bit here. All right, so just while we're talking, 20 minutes ago, they were all headed down. Now they have flipped. Maybe there's some news, I don't know, but the Tesla now is only down 4.75%, trading at $385. It was at $377 when we started. So that's a pretty big change in just a few minutes. We're back to about where it was when we opened this morning. The Dow actually has flipped so much that it's higher than the opening this morning. It is now only down 0.48%. Nasdaq, which is down 2.3% in the overnights, is now only down 1.2%. S&P down 0.93%. It is higher than the opening also. So maybe everybody's starting to get it. This tariff thing is not going to be what they're thinking it's going to be, and we're starting to see a response. So I'm looking over all of the Magnificent Seven, and all of them are improving. Meta is back in the green. NVIDIA, which was down 5, is only down 2.6. I mean, all of it's headed toward the green. The Cathie Wood, similarly, 100%, all flipped, all headed toward the green. So maybe there was Mexico's president, we were deploying 10,000 troops to the border. So the Mexicans have agreed to do what needs to be done. Tariffs on Mexico to be paused a month. Tariffs on Mexico to be paused a month because Mexico is agreeing to do the things that they're now. The reason they're being paused a month is to make sure that Mexico does what they say they're going to do. All right. So that's what there's the headline. Listen to anyway. Mexico has to do what Trump wants them to do. Canada has to do what he wants them to do. Canada only spends 1.3% of their total economy on military, while we're spending 3.2%. It's just not right. And Trump is doing the Great Reset. All right, so let's go here. Well, I'm sorry. I can't even hardly do what I'm supposed to do here. Let's go over to the bonds. Okay, bonds. How are bonds responding to all of that? Okay, bonds are still down 5.7 basis points. Yay. At 4.51, we need to get under 4.5. We need to break through that barrier so we can keep on going down to 3.5. We have got the 2-year down 0.4 of a basis point and the 1 month down 0.3 of a basis point. So again, the shorts are not keeping up right now. Oil is down. It was up. It is now down 0.41%. Why? Because Canada and Mexico are going to cave. And so you got oil at 72.11. We will be under 70 by the end of the week. I'm going to predict that. Do not go trade commodities because you think I'm right on that. But I'm telling you, we're going to be at, in 2 weeks from now, we'll be at 67. Next week, we'll be at, by the end of the week, 69. End of that week, 67, and then we'll keep on going. Natural gas is still up, though, this morning, 8.31% at $3.30 compared to $4.10 like 2.5 weeks ago. Gold, all-time highs again. Well, wait a minute. I'm not 100% sure, very close. 2,856, up 21. Silver up 0.12% at 32.3. And copper unchanged this morning at $4.28. You got the dollar surging. And you've got Bitcoin, which had been falling dramatically, was down at 93, has also completely reversed and is now up 266 at 98,145. All right, so there you go. Things are going absolutely perpendicular right now in the market. Now it's just topping off. So they've taken it up where they want it for now. Tesla at 383 and 19 cents. All right, so remember, things have changed today. Lots of differences. Phil Basel at around noon. Afternoon, not Larry. He'll be on tomorrow night, on Tuesday. Tonight, we've got Nicholas Gibbs, and then that'll be followed by Brian White at 7:45, all Pacific times. So be here, watch all that stuff. Last night, I did my regular, taking a look at this week coming up. It got massive amounts of views last night, so you've probably already seen it, but if you didn't, there is the card. Okay, hit Patreon if you don't mind. Help support the channel. It has been great talking to you.